Although we think of a formula when we think of numbers, formulas and functions can also be used to manipulate and to count data. In this example, we'd like to talk about the COUNTIF function. This allows us to go in and count a series of items on the screen. We'll concentrate on the syntax of the formula so that you can apply a formula to any setting. In this instance, I'd like to know how many apples that I have. You'll notice on the top it gives me a count of 6. Should one of these apples change to an orange, you notice my count goes down automatically. That's the intent of the formula. When I go to the cell that has the count, you will notice that the formula reads COUNTIF E2 to E10 is apples. When working with the formulas, it's important to always emphasize syntax. In any formula, we will name the function, put in brackets, say the range, put in a comma, and the criteria. Function, range, comma, criteria. When we start typing in a function, Excel 2007 will automatically bring you to a list of formulas that start with the letter C. When I go in and type in a C and then follow it with the O, you notice that it changes the different selections that I have. If I continue, you'll notice it now brings me to COUNTIF. When I continue and I type in COUNTIF, placing in the parentheses to start the perimeters, you will notice that the help menu automatically tells me what I should put in. Put in the range, followed by a comma, put in the criteria. In this case, the range is going to be from E1 to E10. Notice I simply selected the range. When I put in the comma, I can now go ahead and name the criteria. Because I'm working with text, the text must be included in quotation marks. This time, I am going to actually count the oranges. Oranges is in quotes. I'll finish with the parenthesis, accept it with the Enter key, and I've now counted that there are 4 oranges. One of the difficulties with the formula that I just typed in is that it is inclusive of a very specific range. If I go down to E11 and type in apples, you will notice that the count did not change. And that's because the count is limited to E2 to E10. In order to get around this problem, I am going to once again use a named range. This time, rather than choosing one cell, I'm going to choose an entire column. When I choose the column, I go over to the name box, and I'm simply going to type in the name as fruit. Again, I accept my entry with an Enter key, and I'm now ready to put in my formula. This time, I'll take a cell, again type in COUNTIF, start with my parentheses, but rather than highlighting the range, I'm simply going to type in fruit. Fruit is not text that I've entered. Fruit is a named range, so I do not need the quotation marks. One of the reasons I had to put the quotes around the criteria is because that's what tells Excel, don't go looking for this in any kind of coding, you won't find it. This is something that's typed in on the screen. I have named my range. I'm going to again put in the comma and now go back to apples. Again, apples needs to be in the quotation marks, and I'll close off my formula. When I hit the Enter key, you'll notice that the count is there. The concept here, though, is now any time I go down this list, it will automatically keep the count in line. So if I want to ensure that a number is counted anywhere within a column, how would I do that in Microsoft Excel? The answer, take advantage of naming the column with a named range.